Welcome, I'm Jane, he's Guy, and you better have brought your swimsuit because it's time once again for a dip in the pool of video game fun times that we call Start Select.
I put mine on under my clothes. This week we'll be going straight off the high dive of video game journalism into the deep end of industry news, in which we find Army of 3, and also South Park RPG, yes, really.
Then we'll be pouring the chlorine of scrutiny on the crowded waters of the military first-person shooter genre. Is there no stopping the mighty FPS, or is the tide about to turn?
And finally, we'll be toweling off with a selection of your fluffiest feedback, lifted from the heated towel rail of the Start Select comments page.
Let's jump right in, shall we?
First up, how about Army of 2? Jane, remember how much fun we had playing that game in two-player co-op?
No?
Well, imagine how much fun it would be to have Mark and Johnny join the party as well. According to Kotaku, EA could be set to turn Army of 2 into Army of 4, and it may also be powered by DICE's Frostbite 2 engine. A previous EA job listing indicated a new Army of 2 installment is in development at Visceral Games' Montreal studio, so it's highly likely that a new game in the moderately successful franchise is currently underway. Whether or not that includes 4-player co-op remains to be seen, but that won't stop the rumour mill turning.
Next up, word is there's a South Park role-playing game on the way. That's a full-on RPG set in the hometown of Stan, Kyle, Cartman and Kenny, being developed by RPG-fluent studio Obsidian. That's good news for South Park fans, or is it? Obsidian's got a lot of experience with RPG games, but a not quite spotless history. The studio's last 3 games were Alpha Protocol, Fallout New Vegas, and Dungeon Siege 3. So a mixed bag. That said, if you've been waiting on a South Park game since the 1998 first-person shooter, which got from GameSpot a 5.8 on the N64, a 4.1 on the PC, and a 1.4 eventually on the PS, then the only way is up. Look for the South Park RPG, in which the kids defend the town from a wide range of threats, next year on the X360 and PS3, with some more details in January's issue of Game Informer.
And finally, this just in, hold a phone and stop the internet presses. Man in man wears t-shirt shocker. With that man an employee at Half-Life developer Valve, and that t-shirt being this t-shirt. That's right, a fetching black t-shirt with what appears to be the Half-Life 3 logo. The photo was tweeted by @Econaut, a marketing bod at UberEnt, developer of Monday Night Combat. As reported by VG247, the photo was taken at a local game developer event. Could it be the sign we've all been waiting for? That Half-Life 3 is just around the corner but kept tightly and cruelly under wraps at Valve? Or could it be that the tweet fails to relay what's actually on the back of the t-shirt? Valve be trolling, yo! Unless you came to be watching this by mistyping your search for Arabian TV network Star Select, it's safe to assume you're into games.
And whether military first-person shooters are your particular kind of game or not, it won't have escaped your attention they're doing pretty well of late.
But having nailed the winning but samey formula for an annual blockbuster, are they getting to be victims of their own success? Danny O'Dwyer takes a break from guiding bluffers to investigate.
I'm a man who enjoys eating cheese and crackers. Sit me down in front of a plate of cheese and crackers and I couldn't be happier. So many tastes and flavours. Every bite is a new experience. But feed me cheese and crackers every day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and I'm gonna get sick of them pretty quickly.
I'm kind of like this way with military shooters. I'll eat one because I think I should. There was a time in my life when I couldn't get enough military action, but overconsumption has spoiled the taste.
I, like many others, suffer from a horrible condition, genre fatigue. So we're sending this out to military shooter developers all around the world. We're sick of shooters, and it's all your fault.
Shooters have been at the forefront of gaming for well over a decade. They come in various shapes and sizes, but the most popular of all is the military shooter.
In 1999, Medal of Honor laid the foundation for what has been 12 years of incremental updates to the subgenre. For about 7 of those, World War II was the popular choice, but by the time Call of Duty 3 was released, the global gaming community had had enough of killing Germans. Especially the Germans, they were really fed up. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare gave the genre a much-needed reboot the following year, resulting in record-breaking sales and a new lease of life for the genre. It's been so popular, publishers Activision have released a new title from the franchise every year since. Since 2007, we've had 5 games from the Call of Duty series, all with their own brief but explosive campaign, and all with a largely similar multiplayer component. The series has adopted a release schedule akin to an annual sports franchise, where demanding development deadlines leave little time for innovation. Like sports games, the developers have decided to focus on refining and reiterating on core mechanics. It makes sense. With a captive audience, iteration trumps innovation, at least for a time.
Of course, for all this talk about how formulaic the military FPS genre has become, the latest Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare 3, has once again gone out to sell bajillions and smash further sales records to pieces. So, is the military first-person shooter losing its appeal? Time to ask experts.
I'm a little bit tired of them. Although I did say this last year after playing Modern Warfare 2, I was like, yeah, I probably won't play Modern Warfare 3. And I've just started playing Modern Warfare 3.
Well, I used to play through the campaigns, but this year it's all about multiplayer. I haven't even bothered with the campaigns on Call of Duty or Battlefield. It's all about multiplayer. I just get a lot more enjoyment from it.
I must say, I'm probably getting a little bit sick of them now, but you know, they're still enjoyable games and I still like to play them, you know. Latest Call of Duty, great, stuff exploded, you know, I walked around a city, buildings fell down, like, I went in a train, it blew up, and it never stopped, and it was fun. It was like playing a Michael Bay film, so that's fine.
I will generally start with the campaign, because I like to tell myself I'm training for the multiplayer, although that's generally not a great way to train for multiplayer.
I played a little bit of Battlefield 3 single player, and it felt as though it was going through the motions a little bit, and I just didn't have any inclination to play through it.
As much as they love the multiplayer, it doesn't seem like the campaigns were particularly memorable for our panel. Can you guys even remember what happened in Modern Warfare 1 and 2?
So the plot of Modern Warfare 1, no.
Russian dude called Zakiev.
Bad guy with the glasses and the hat
Zakiev?
took over some Middle Eastern country.
He's a nutter.
I know there's Soap McTavish, and
Like there was a scene with a Ferris wheel.
And then you get a sniper and you shoot him in the arm, right, in the first one.
Some stuff happened and then you almost died at the end. The ending was really good, actually, the first game. I loved that.
The White House gets blown up.
just, you put me on the spot, but even like major plot points I wouldn't be able to explain to you, no.
All I know is that you go around and you blow crap up.
Experts, eh? Well, the consensus seems to be that the campaign is what's grinding your gears, which is interesting when you remember this form of short and focused campaign was considered a breath of fresh air in 2007. COD 4's campaign was lauded by gamers and critics alike for its varied environments, explosive set pieces, and clever pacing. This has proved even more impressive when you consider most FPS games were pushing between 10 and 15 hours long back then, and short campaigns were often the target of gamers' criticism. Modern Warfare was helped by having an addictive, infinitely replayable multiplayer component.
So the campaigns are repetitive and predictable, but does that even matter? Aren't these games just fun action movies?
I think you can't take it too seriously, and I think that's kind of the problem with it at the moment. So people are trying to take these things too seriously.
It's changed initially the way that personally I've related to first-person shooters and kind of given it more of a grounding and more of a firm base to get grasp of, but over the years, you know, like everything, once you get used to it, you know, they've had to keep upping the ante, and it's gone slightly further than I think that initial reality hook that I really liked. It may have overstretched itself.
I mean, they are incredibly addictive. They offer something that the mass market can really wrap its head around. You know, it's a shooter, it's a modern military shooter.
I moved house recently, and the delivery guy asked what I did for a living, and I said journalist, games journalist. And he went, oh yeah, I play FIFA and COD. And I went, do you play anything else? No, I literally just play FIFA and COD. And I was like, wow.
That's fair enough. These games are short and exciting, a known quantity, with explosive campaigns that allow high street gamers to get their rocks off without having to put aside days of their free time. I guess they'll continue this way forever and nobody will ever get bored and stop playing them. Right?
It's like FIFA now. It's like that game that comes out every year and people know what they're getting, and it doesn't have to, unfortunately, it doesn't have to massively overhaul what it's doing. In fact, that would be a bad thing for it to do. because people know what they're getting each year, and they're gonna want to have a new Call of Duty experience around November. That's why it sells so well, and that's why it does so well.
I think we've gotten to a point where they've really nailed their formula, and although there is a question of genre fatigue, I think they are very wise in not messing with the winning formula.
If business teaches us anything, it's that they'll always go until it's too far. There's not going to be a point where Activision will go, that's it, we're going to stop making them now because we think we've made the one that's going to sell the most. They'll go 2 or 3 releases beyond what we think would be, appropriate.
So, while these games fill a genuine demand in the market, could it be that the mass market appeal of these games means that innovation is unlikely to come until it's too late? That, like Guitar Hero and Tony Hawk before it, Call of Duty is destined for a sharp downfall that will kill the series. Clearly, a solution is required, and who better to ask for ideas than real gamers? Last week, we asked the GameSpot community what they thought of the genre, and using that information, we've come up with some surefire ways to save the military shooter campaign. Cyberbite727 says, yes, I'm mucho tired of shooters. They generally start out interesting and fast lose their appeal. Several hours of bang, bang, bang and crap AI. Yawn. Too much yawn and bang going on there. What you need is improved AI. Instead of shooting hundreds of gormless lunatics, how about soldiers that actually behave a bit like soldiers? No more running wildly out of cover, for instance. Fear is a major component of war, so it might be interesting to battle a soldier you actually felt intimidated by for once.
At Imperial Creed said over Twitter, let me open the doors for a change. I'm sick of waiting for NPCs to do it all the time. Yes, less waiting around for somebody else to turn a simple handle, less obvious scripted sequences perhaps, and less quick time events. And do we really have to breach every single door?
Our very own Tyler Weingarner says 2 words, player agency. Most shooter controls are essentially obfuscated next page buttons. This is the feeling of empowerment that comes from being able to take actions in the game world whose effects relate to the player's intention. Simply going along for the ride is getting old. The most engrossing games ensure the player feels part of the reality, so how about empowering the player some more?
Rocker6 told us, I'm getting very fatigued by them since all lack any innovation and creativity. I used to love FPS genre before COD and military shooters became too popular and shortened campaigns way too much, removed freedom of movement and started with scripted and linear campaigns. The Call of Duty series and even the latest Battlefield game are about as linear as you could get, so let's have more dynamic battlefields with several ways to attack an objective and explorable war zones. Sort of what like the Battlefield series used to be like. And finally, Timur Hussein chimed in saying, a chapter after the war where the soldiers have to come to terms with all the stuff they've seen and done. Well, while you could argue that Black Ops was essentially 5 hours of that, yeah, it would be nice to show the realistic consequences of war and the protagonist for a change. The gung-ho nature of these games is getting irritating. War is ugly, usually unnecessary, and as we've seen in recent years, often fought for the wrong reasons. How about a war game that actually tackles these issues and makes us think about the realities and lives behind the explosions? One that makes us question war, instead of celebrating humanity's greatest weakness.
So will these ideas actually fix the genre? Well, probably not. If there is one predictable aspect about the games industry, it's that nothing about it is actually predictable.
And though many people are complaining, the genre is still incredibly popular with both the hardcore and the mainstream.
With more military shooters on the way from Activision Studios and from EA through DICE and Respawn, it's fair to say we haven't seen the last of them yet.
Yes, and in fact, since this video started, over 7 billion men, women and children were massacred online.
Really?
I have no idea.
Because no episode of Super Start Select is complete without your thoughts on game news, the show, and our general worth as human beings, we now submit for your consideration a selection of comments. Guy?
On this week's unveiling of an Ezio-style costume for Final Fantasy XIII 2 dude Noel, Guinness Hero says, Assassin's Creed in FF? That just smacks of blatant in-game promotions / advertising. A pure fantasy game mixing with a sort of historical game, they just don't go together, in my honest opinion.
On the other hand, Virtus is all over the alternate costume, albeit because he thinks regular Noel looks rubbish. I love the idea of Noel wearing Ezio's costume. I hated Noel's default design, but even though I will 100% be getting that costume, the cinematic scenes can't be helped and will feature his default costume.
Then, on the comparative merits of Skyrim and Assassin's Creed, and also how much we suck, Soma Cruz 889 blathers, You are stupid. Your program sucks. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, it's a great game. No compare Assassin's Creed to Skyrim. Are different games. The raking of game confirm the best game. Oblivion rules. Your program sucks. Close this program.
No? Also, comments page regular Harumble responds to Cameron's fantastic Assassin's Creed mini-documentary in last week's show. Great work fitting Lamarckian inheritance in there, Cameron. Maybe next week you could do a section on applying Haeckel's maxim that ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny to the Pokemon series.
What's Haeckel's maxim?
What's Pokemon?
And on the rumours of a first-person shooter set in the Dead Space universe, hey, another one, Control Freak 25 worries. I will continue to buy Dead Space games as they come out, but please leave it the way it is. There are so many FPSs out there and only some third-person shooters. Dead Space is a great game and I would hate to see it become something that it's not supposed to be.
Epic 40k on the same topic even digs into the problematic design specifics. Referring to the health bar-like rig on Isaac's back, he says, if Dead Space becomes an FPS, how's Isaac meant to see his health without sticking his head up his ass? If they do it, then they should make it like the first third-person camera in Skyrim and Fallout 3. Programming the game camera is not hard. They could make the game best of both worlds. Having the graphical user interface strapped onto Isaac's back was a nice quirky type thing, and it would be a shame to get rid of it.
It sure would, Epic 40k, although it's worth remembering the same set of rumours said Dead Space 3 was still in the works, separate to any putative Dead Space FPS. So buck up, that's something.
And there you have it, folks. Another Superstart Select comes to an end. But don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And also because we'll be back next week.
Valve be trolling, yo!
That was amazing.
Just keep that, it's done.
Yeah. Oh, no, really, do you want to say something?